me tell you something right now. This storyline, it's a ticking time bomb. And I'm not even exaggerating. We need to talk about Beyond the Gates because what's happening with Ted, Chenise, Leslie, and Eva is not just messy, it's dangerously cyclical. And if you've been watching this show as long as I have, you already know what that means. History is about to repeat itself in the most painful way possible. All right, let's break this down together. So Ted, this man is walking contradiction. On one hand, I get it. I really do. His lingering emotional connection with Nicole, that makes sense. You don't just erase a life, a marriage, a history like that overnight. Memories don't disappear just because a relationship ends. And honestly, anyone expecting him to feel nothing for Nicole is just being unrealistic. But here's the problem. Leslie, that's where I draw the line. Because unlike Nicole, Leslie was never supposed to be anything. She was a mistake. A moment, an accident that spiraled into consequences, mainly Eva. And yes, Ted stepping up as a father, that part I respect. I will always respect a character trying to take responsibility for a child who had no say in being born. But trying to make things right with Leslie, oh, no, 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 no. That's where things go off the rails. And here's the kicker. Ted is starting to reframe Leslie in his mind. Did you catch that? He's no longer seeing her as the woman who inserted herself into his marriage. He's starting to see her as misunderstood, as someone shaped, even damaged by his own actions. He thinks he owes her something, and I'm sorry, but that mindset, that is incredibly dangerous. Because once guilt enters the equation, boundaries disappear. And once boundaries disappear, feelings start to creep back in. Let's be real for a second. Leslie is not some tragic victim who just happened to fall into this situation. She made choices, calculated ones. She pursued Ted, knowing she broke into a marriage, and now suddenly we're supposed to believe she's just this broken woman deserving redemption? I'm not buying it. Not for 1 second. In fact, I think Leslie is playing a much longer game than anyone realizes. And here's where things get really interesting. Because while Ted is busy drowning in guilt and trying to fix the past, Leslie is quietly positioning herself for the future. We've seen hints subtle, but they're there. Her connection with Marcel, that's not random. That's strategic. She knows exactly who she can use, when, and how. So why hasn't she let go of Ted? That's the question. Because if Marcel is a better match, and honestly, he kind of is, then why keep circling back to Ted? Simple. Ted is leverage. Ted is unfinished business. Ted is vulnerability. And then there's Eva. Can we just take a moment to appreciate how emotionally mature this girl is? Seriously. In a show full of manipulation, obsession, and emotional chaos, Eva stands out as one of the few characters who actually understands what love should look like. She doesn't force it. She doesn't manipulate it. She doesn't weaponize it. She just wants Ted to be happy, even if that happiness has nothing to do with her mother. And that's powerful. That's rare. And honestly, that's why I'm worried for her. Because characters like Eva, they tend to get hurt the most. Now let's talk about Chenise. Because she's the one standing right in the middle of this emotional battlefield, and she might not even realize how bad things are about to get. Chenise already made a huge emotional investment by forgiving Ted. That wasn't small. That wasn't easy. She chose to move forward, to build something real with him, despite his past. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Forgiveness doesn't erase patterns. And Ted, he has a pattern. He hesitates. He wavers. He gets pulled by emotion instead of making firm decisions. And now, with Leslie re-entering his emotional space in a softer, more understanding way, he's slipping again. You can see it, the looks, the conversations, the emotional proximity. It's happening, and you know what's coming next, right? The moment that classic soap opera cliffhanger. Someone is going to see something they weren't supposed to see. And if I had to bet, it's either Chenise or Monica. And let me tell you, if it's Monica, that explosion will be nuclear. I can already picture it. Ted and Leslie sharing a quiet, emotionally charged moment. Maybe it's subtle. Maybe it's just a touch, a look, something that could be explained away, but shouldn't be. And then, boom, they're caught. No context, no explanation, just raw, undeniable suspicion. And Shanice, she's not Nicole. She's not going to sit there and process it slowly. If Shanice feels betrayed, she's gone. And honestly, I wouldn't blame her. Because here's my hot take, and I know some fans might disagree with me on this. Ted doesn't deserve another chance if he crosses that line again. He already lost Nicole because he couldn't control his impulses with Leslie. If he repeats that mistake, that's not tragedy. That's choice. And that's what frustrates me the most about his character. Ted gives relationship advice to other people like he has it all figured out, and yet his own love life is a complete disaster. It's almost ironic. Actually, no, it is ironic. He doesn't need to be giving advice. He needs therapy. He needs clarity. He needs to finally decide what kind of man he wants to be, because right now, he's standing at a crossroads. One path leads to stability, growth, and a real future with Chenise. The other, chaos, regression, another emotional spiral with Leslie that will destroy everything in its path again. And based on what we're seeing, he's dangerously close to choosing wrong. So what happens next? Here's my prediction. Leslie's going to push just enough to pull Ted closer. Not fully, not obviously, but subtly. Emotional intimacy first. Physical proximity later. She's patient. She knows how this game works. Chenise will sense something is off. Maybe she won't have proof immediately, but the tension will build. The trust will crack. And then the reveal. The confrontation, the fallout, and Eva, she'll be caught in the middle of it all. Again, I'm telling you right now, this storyline is building towards something big. Something messy. Something that's going to divide the fan base completely. Some people will defend Ted. Some will blame Leslie. Some will feel heartbroken for Chenise. And a few will just sit there and say, we saw this coming, because we did. We absolutely did. But hey, that's why we watch, right? For the chaos, for the heartbreak, for those moments where you just sit there and go, you've got to be kidding me. And trust me, that moment, it's coming.